Are you ready to get intimate? What is intimacy? And where and how do you find it? Welcome to the Getting Intimate podcast, a daring journey into the heart of intimacy with you, your senses, the whole world, and all the creatures in it. Intimacy can be a pretty wild ride, filled with both longing and apprehension. But what if the vulnerability of intimacy isn't something to be avoided, but celebrated? What if getting intimate is the key to finally coming alive? Discover more with guests from all walks of life and your host, Katarina. So welcome to this episode of the Getting Intimate podcast. And this time we're exploring intimacy with the earth, the big blue-green ball that's swirling through the universe that we call home. And as our guide, I've invited Simone Milasas, who is a brilliant speaker, author, entrepreneur, business guru, and earth whisperer. Welcome, Simone.
Oh, thanks, Kat. Thank you. You've got no idea how much I just needed to hear that. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Oh, that was a brilliant start of one of the things I wanted to talk about on this podcast is how it doesn't matter where we are on Earth, we can still touch each other because Earth actually connects us.
Yeah. I mean, we are a part of the ecosystem. You know, I often think about or refer to when you and I were in South Africa. I do get that's where our friendship began in a really different way. And when we were in South Africa and we were doing, the safari rides, and I love, most people go out morning and night and go for a little bit. We were like, how long can we go? We were probably out for 8 hours a day. And our guide, Barry, he said at one stage that so many people come along on these safari rides and they sit on the truck and they watch the animals and they look at, etc. But they create themselves as separate from where they are. And he said it's like they're just watching rather than acknowledging that they are a part of the ecosystem. And that's always stuck with me because I look at that. That's how I know I've been with different areas of the earth. And when I go visit places or just even tapping into an energy right now, right here. But to really acknowledge that you are a part of the ecosystem. And I implore you, it's go somewhere if you can and take your shoes off and just put your feet in the grass or the dirt or the sand or, on the trunk of a tree or anything, and just ask for that energy throughout the whole entire earth. I mean, even now, I feel it as soon as we start talking about it, it's and we're in our houses, and that energy to come up through your body and into every single molecule in your body. And I know you can't hear it because we're on Zoom and it doesn't do it, or StreamYard. I don't think you can. All the birds that just started going crazy.
A little bit. Yeah, we hear them a little bit.
Lorikeet birds. It's the chime.
Well, and when you're saying that, it's also Barry was talking about the ecosystem of the savannah and, being on the car. But when you were saying also being on the grass, it's like you're tapping into the ecosystem of the grass you're standing on, but also everything that grass is connected to, which, forest, garden, and then it reaches out to the ocean. So by stepping on the grass, we're connected to the whole ecosystem of the planet.
Yeah. And I'm not so sure that people okay, so I was with our friend Chris Hughes the other day at his house, and I'd stayed at his house, had this great dinner party, and then in the morning we're having coffee, watching a documentary on crabs in northern Russia, as one does in the background. Quite incredible, actually. One of the, in history, I can't remember who it was, but they brought in king crabs to try and solve their lack of food problem. And they brought in king crabs. Now king crabs are taking over northern Russia, in the water system. So they're looking at what do we have to do about it, right? But so we were watching this and watching this king crab story and everything. And the under the ocean is so incredible, so incredible. They were showing the different fishes, the natural predators and all these different things. And it's like quite often people don't look at what's under the ocean because they can't visually look at it and see it, unless
Mm.
you, of course, you go diving or snorkeling. And I also think the same thing, Katarina, about the soil. Like so many people just go, oh, well, it's soil underneath me. Or like where I live across the road from the beach. So essentially, like the soil in front of my backyard has been extremely sandy, like to the point
Mm.
that you could get little mini crabs that come knocking at the back door. Like that's how sandy it is. So myself and my gardeners worked on this to create a different soil and create a soil that had way more nutrients. And it's taken quite a while, but now, you know, I had this food forest in my backyard, and I was talking to my gardener the other day, and he went, you know, this is so brilliant. He said, I love showing people this because so many people in this area or just automatically go, oh no, I can't grow banana trees because it's too sandy. Or I can't
Right.
do this because it's too sandy. And they assume something rather than be with the earth, talk to the earth, look at the soil and just go, okay, what is actually required here? And working with it, because underneath it, it's amazing how within the soil, how it all like, and all the roots and everything like that are continuously communicating to each other. One of
Mm.
my favorite things to look at is, I mean, like I said, I have a food forest, but if you look at like all the banana trees, etc., they are like a natural water tank. They're amazing. They create what they call pups. So you have a banana tree, and like the other day, I had like 5 or 6 pups around them. And what they do is they create the banana tree is supposed to be the grandmother, and then you keep the mother and the daughter. So you keep 2 pups and take the other ones up and plant them somewhere else. So we were doing all of this. They work a lot with, you know, regenerative farming, etc. And but if you look at the banana trees are natural water tanks. So if you have a quote unquote drought or there's not much rain, all those other trees, my lemon trees, my fig trees, my olive tree, all of that, if they need water underneath in this soil, it's basically like this system that they go, hey, I need water. And then let
Yeah.
the, you know, banana tree goes, yep, I gotcha over here. And then someone else might need sun. And it's like the nutrients you get from the sun. And it's like, I got this because I'm nice and tall, or I've got, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just this absolute conglomeration of contribution and receiving. It's like, man, if we could be more like that on the planet
Yeah.
as beings, what could we ask for, and what could we choose, and what could we create and generate?
And it's so, when you're saying this, and also so much of the planet functions, or people, so much of people on the planet function from lack. And what you were saying also is like that banana tree doesn't think, oh my God, it may get dry later, so I should save my water for,
No, no, it doesn't. Exactly. It's not
and that,
stingy, as we would say.
no,
I don't know if you know what that word is.
yeah, yeah. And it's like a total generosity of contribution.
Generosity. Yeah.
Yeah. But where, and not even like, so when you're describing it, it's so, because the whole forest is happy when the whole forest is happy. It's not happy if like the biggest, most popular trees are happy. That's
No,
not how.
and it likes the diversity. Like it, you know, I mean, a true forest has diversity,
Yeah.
and I've seen what they do. You know, in so many places around the world that they'll have strawberry farms, for example, and they just keep planting strawberries after strawberries after strawberries after strawberries, and they might look good, but they don't taste good, and they also don't carry the nutrients that a
Mm.
strawberry carry. You know, so you actually require the diversity. It's sort of like let the land be the land. I mean, I found it interesting with this show on crabs because they were introduced, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we've got animals in Australia that were introduced, and you can see where they have been a contribution and where they've been a hindrance. And it's like, you know, we just had this major cyclone, and you know, all along the beach, the erosion that has occurred is huge. And it's so interesting. People are like, oh my God, it's ruined our beaches. I'm like, it's natural erosion. Have a look. I've been living here for 12 years. This has
Mm.
probably happened like 4 times, but look, over the hundreds and hundreds, if not millions of years, the earth knows what it's doing. It knows what is required to sort of create this chaos and mess things up. Okay, you got to, you know, jump down 2 meters or build a little pathway now. It's not just this smooth thing, but that will change. And it's like,
Yeah.
what if we allowed that change and asked questions of what contribution can I be with this, not not trying to control it, you know?
Well, it's interesting too, because when you talk about this, it's also about the perspective. The earth does not have a limited time perspective. And we tend to look at the earth very much from our lifespan, like it should be, I should always have ease to going down on the beach during my lifetime. But that perspective, like the earth perspective, also changes the way you can say, like, connect with it in a way if you're willing to actually have a bigger perspective.
Yeah, and I think being questioned too, like I went for a walk the other day on the beach and the tide was really high, and so there wasn't much beach. And we had lots of what we call blue bottles. And I was with a friend who is Italian and doesn't know, I mean, even though he's been here for a while, he doesn't know all the animals and all the information about it. But I grew up with blue bottles. And he was like asking me questions about what they are. And I said, well, you don't want to stand on them because they've got like a stinger to them, right? And so there was a lot. So he had his flip-flops on. I had no shoes. And then after 10 minutes, I went, okay, we have to turn around and go back because this is too much me focusing on trying to, avoid the blue bottles. But here's the thing. Why are they here? Like, let's ask a question. And most people just go to, oh, how annoying that the blue bottles are here. And it's like, no, why are they here? What's happened out at ocean? Why are they washed up here? Like, what's going on? Ants. I was listening to this podcast and, there's a book called Sand Talk. And it's by this guy, Tyson. I can't remember his last name. It's on Audible. And I've been listening to it. And he talks about, if you want to really know what's going on, like with the earth, watch the ants. And it's been so interesting, Kat, because ever since I've done that, I'm like watching the ants. I'm like, what are the ants choosing, or where are they, and what are they doing, and what for? Like, what are they aware of? I don't have any clarity yet. I'm not speaking ant language, but I'm like, instead of dismissing it, because we tend to do that when there's something that we can't control, or we didn't go, like a beach is supposed to be beautiful. Well, our beaches like have this white sand, waves coming in, da da da. So you have this preconceived what that beach is supposed to be. So then when you go down there and there's lots of blue bottles and you can't swim, then you get disappointed. What if we were never disappointed? And what if we were always in question of what is the earth creating and generating, and what can we gain from this,
Oh, I love that. Have you always been so, like, interested in the earth, or have this kind of relationship ever since you were a kid, or has it changed?
I think so. I think I've acknowledged it more so as I got older. I was talking to someone about, I grew up in the south of Sydney, and Sydney's huge. And I grew up south as you can get, in a small place called Lillipilly. And it was on Port Hacking River. It's named after, we have a flower here called the Lillipilly. And it's named after that. So it's on the national park. It's literally at the edge of Sydney. So, and we were one house back from the national park. So as a kid growing up, we get home from school and we'd go through our neighbor's yard, and then you would like run pretty much down through the national park. There was like a stairwell, like, and someone had made steps and rocks and things like that so you could get down there. But we would go down there and we would play in this, in this river, and which would obviously go out to the ocean. We'd play in this river. And so I grew up with a lot of water sports, like whether it was water skiing or taking a boat out, or windsurfing or kayaking or anything like that. That's what you did after school. You maybe went water skiing, But I was looking at this the other day going, man, the amount of snakes that would have been in that national park. And as a kid, we just rummaged. Like, we would play hide and seek. We would just run through it all and would never bother us. So I grew up with living on the national park, is what I would say was my backyard. So now, I remember, Kat, when I took you for the first time to the beach across the road, and you started crying, and I looked at you and I went, what's up? And you went, oh my God, this is your front yard.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
And yeah, so I think I've had an affinity with it for a long time. For me, Kat, one of the things that when you're like, when I was a teenager, leaving high school, etc., and nothing made sense to me. Everyone was like they appeared like they knew what the hell they were doing, like that they wanted to study this or get married and have kids and how many kids and da 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 and all, what everything they were going to do. And I was just like, I have no idea. I just know I can't wait to get out of school. Like, people lied to me when they said that's the best use of your life. Not true. Couldn't wait to leave school. And the one thing I kept looking at was, I would see people didn't seem to observe or receive from plants or trees, etc. They seem to favor the trauma and drama and
Right.
what was perceived relevant in this reality. And I know that never made sense to me. Like, we had a pretty big house, or big, in those years you had big blocks of land. So I would always play outside, and you had backyard, front yard. In the backyard, you could literally get lost in it. Like, we had all these garden beds and, banana tree around the side and everything. So I would play outside a lot. And for me, in hindsight, if I look at it, I get it was almost like nature was where I had more of a sense of me. And it was like, one of my best friends, because it wasn't, I didn't perceive judged in it. It was just, I could just be there. I used to hang out my own a lot. Like, I used to hang out with a lot of people. I would say I'm definitely one of those people who was an introvert, extrovert. Yeah.
And then you hanged out with nature and the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you recently were at Uluru, the big red rock in the middle of Australia. And in a way, you have, I think it's lack of a better word, but you have this deep love with this rock. How did that start? How did you and the rock meet?
I'd wanted to go there for quite some time. So, and if you're listening to this, around the world, a lot of people call it Ayers Rock, but it's a lot of those names were given by Europeans who came here. Like, we have the Olgas, and that's by a German lady, but we don't call it the Olgas. Like, or Ayers Rock or Katajuda. It's the Aboriginal Indigenous name is Uluru, and so I've wanted to go there for quite some time, and actually a bunch of people chipped in and brought me a present to go there. So that was the first time I went there. I think that was in 21. And I went there with Sarah Watt, the friend of our friend, and it was great. But the first time I ever went there, we drove to this, like, there's a car park near there, and to go hike around it. And it's 10 to 12 Ks, depending on how often you sort of go into a gorge or something. And we started walking, and Sarah was like, hey, I'm going to go over here and look at this gorge. And I just had this, like, pounding in my heart, and I went, okay, I'm going. I have to keep walking. I have to go now. And she's like, okay. And so I walked around the whole rock on my own. We met up right at the end, like the last probably 500 meters, which was perfect timing because it was just so nice to share even that last 500 meters with her. But walking around the whole time, it was super hot. And just being there was so incredible. There's places that you can be and you can take photos, etc. And then there's other places they ask you to honor that area because it was a sacred site. In the Indigenous, society, there's a lot of places where they have, like, sacred place for men or sacred place for women, and it's where women went and did women's business and men did men's business. And to be honest, we don't really know to the depth of what that is. Like, if you talk to an Aboriginal man now, he will talk to you and say it's not men's business is men's business. He's not going to talk to everyone about men's business, and it's probably not his story to tell. Like, he wouldn't talk about women's business because that's not his story to tell. And I do like the way Indigenous will do that because, like, I don't know, people tend to gossip or do things like that and go, oh, they did this, and then things get misconstrued. They know what they can talk about, what they have seen, what they've been a part of, and they'll talk about that. And then if you want to know something extra, they're like, you need to ask that person because that's their story to tell, not mine. And for me, it's almost like this relaxing, calming energy of how you transfer information and stories, So, but as you walk around, there's some areas that you can actually, like, lean in and, touch the rock, lie on the rock, etc. And I remember the first time ever that I touched it, I was on my own and I just leant in with my both hands on there. And I just got this massive energy of, like, creation. But creation that was so big and so ginormous and just could exponentialize, and like that energy of like change the world, like let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And also they say the rock is anywhere between 550 and 650 million years old, like because it's quite large, like how it's risen out of the earth. And they also say it's part of the creation of planet Earth. And when you're walking around and, you know, if you go, oh, I've got a money problem, oh, you know, my relationship, etc., blah blah blah, you're like, seriously, how is this relevant? Like, there's something about, even like right now, if you're listening to this and you've never been to Uluru, Google it. It's friggin' beautiful. Tap into the energy of Uluru right now. It's like you tap into that energy and have a look at what you think is a problem, and what if it's not? Like, what are you making relevant that doesn't have to be relevant? Like, there is an energy and a space that not only you know, Uluru, like not only the desert is offering you, the entire planet is offering you. For me, it's just really palpable there. Same as Elugar. Elugar is another place that is so palpable that energy is there for you to go, yeah, everything just seems to dissipate, because you're like, no, I invented all these problems. They're real. Yeah. And then you go somewhere like Uluru and Elugar and you go, maybe they're not, you know.
Do you get that there are certain places that have a greater capacity to open that up?
Yes, I do. And I think for me, Kat, I also get, I think there is a lot of places like that around the world that have that, and something may be for you as well. Like, one of mine is definitely water, like the ocean. You know, yeah. And, you know, a friend of mine who, we were swimming in the Mediterranean Sea about 2 years ago or something, and I'd known him for a few years, and he was like, I've never seen you this happy, like a kid, like the joy in your world. I love being in the ocean or the sea. It's like, it's something that it contributes to me and my body. So, you know, what is it for all of you? Like, some people I know with mountains. I love mountains too. Yeah. But some people I know climb mountains a lot, and it gives them that something. So what I would say is, if you're listening to this too, what is that for you? Like, it could be gardening. It could literally be in your garden or somebody else's garden, and getting your hands in the dirt and the soil. That's not me. I actually don't garden that much. I've planted some stuff out in my backyard, but my gardeners do that. I love having it. I love being there, and I'll play in it every now and then, but I don't actually get my hands in the soil and get them, you know, dirty and decide to plant new things or whatever.
Well, you know, when you're saying that, I think one of the things that's been coming late for the last few years for me is birdsong. I can just sit and listen to birdsong. I didn't have that a few years ago, but now I'm listening to all the different kinds of song. And I don't know if you know this, but birds have dialects. So depending on where a specific species of birds come from, it will sing different than if it comes from somewhere else. And over time, their song change. So even birds has this uniqueness to all of them. Oh, and I live by a forest, so I can go out in the morning now, especially like the period between now and the mid of the summer is when they're all like getting their partners and making, you know, small birds. I don't know what it's called, like baby birds. And they're so much more active. Then it kind of calms down, and the singing changes. It becomes a different symphony after midsummer, and then it's a little less loud. They start a little later. It's a little different songs. And I just want to say, when I was a kid, my parents used to throw me into a lake or an ocean when I was cranky, and it was the best way to make me happy.
I love it. Yeah.
To me, water. So yes, and
animals might do that too. Like, you know, my dog that I used to have, Max. I would take him to the beach every day and walk him on the beach, and every time, without a doubt, you'd get down there and he'd like run like into the beach and run into the water, and he'd look at you like, oh my God, check this out. And you were like, we were here yesterday, Max, or this morning. Like, I mean, it used to just make me smile and laugh. And I used to say to everyone, if you're cranky, come and take Max to the beach. There's no way you can stay cranky after you take Max to the beach. The joy in his world is just palpable.
It's such a great question, because I was going to ask you if somebody would like to get more intimate with the earth, would start their journey towards exploring that. What would be a good thing to start with? And I think you just mentioned it. Like, what makes you happy? Like, what makes you happy when you're
Yeah.
doing it with the earth?
Yeah. Well, also what makes you happy, and animals, I wouldn't exclude that, because animals know you. If you're getting intimate with the earth and you're getting intimate with animals, it's like a really quick example, and I actually spoke about this on my podcast that I think is out this week too, but it's a good example of my horse Pluma in Algarve. Like last time I was leaving, I was like, oh no, I'm leaving Algarve, and I hugged one of the cowboys, Hugo, and I started crying, and I was like, oh god damn it, because I'm leaving. And I jump on my horse and I start riding out of the stables, and she's just like, what the hell? And she starts like almost this panicking in her world, and she starts like jumping around doing her thing, and I went, of course. She's like going, what happened? What are we upset about? Like did I miss something? What did I miss? And then immediately I went, oh, sorry. And I was like, Pluma, it's cool. It's good. It's just me. And I had to calm myself down. So that's definitely getting intimate with an animal. And as soon as I calmed myself down and I turned her around and I said, okay, let's go this way. Let's go a different way. Because I just wanted to change the mindset of what I created as soon as I got on her. And then we had this really beautiful ride. But what she showed me straight away was, don't stop being present, and don't try and make something relevant that's not.
And also it's like something that was going on for you energetically that she had no idea what that was, and it makes no sense to
Like,
her.
why are we panicked?
Yes.
Why are we crying?
Yeah. It's such a great example of also how the earth, like when you get into an upset or when you get into that's gone like a red thread all through this podcast, like how the earth can actually assist you in expanding the perspective and knowing if something is relevant or not.
I'm going to say, even if you're funky, look at some pictures of the earth. Go to Instagram on Algar and just scroll through that and have a look at some of those pictures on there and the videos on there. Like, you don't, yes, being in it, dive in the ocean or the sea, hug a tree, go for a walk, take your shoes off, put them in the sand or the soil or whatever. But also, just even if you look at a picture and just ask to receive it, you'll notice how your energy starts to change and you start to become more of you.
That is beautiful. And now I immediately tapped into all these places.
Yeah. Well, I tapped into your forest too, like you talking about that. I haven't been to the forest near Cats, but as soon as you started talking about it with the birds and also the seasonal thing, you can perceive the energy of it. And it's like, and how alive the trees are. And it's like, receive from those trees in Sweden. You may never go to Sweden. It doesn't mean you can't receive from the trees there.
And as we've been talking, there's been 2 deers that's been walking in the garden outside. They do it all the time. So it's not like unusual. They really like to eat in my garden. They think I plant very good things for them. They're very grateful that I'm planting flowers for them to eat. I'm not, but they think so, I think. So they passed by here as we were talking, and just went over there and started eating for a little bit, and then they left. And that energy, just to have that, is amazing. And yes, if you're listening to this, that energy is available the whole time. I just realized when you're saying that how much we're actually trained ourselves to cut off that energy of the earth that is always present.
And can I add one thing to this too?
Yes, please.
Because you say deer, and I go, oh my god, because we don't have deer. But if I said I saw a kangaroo, you'd go, oh, and I'm like, oh, I've seen thousands of kangaroos, So it is the perspective thing as well. So it's like, who or what part of the earth or animals are you taking for granted? And if you didn't take them for granted, what else could you receive from them?
Oh, yes, that. Right outside your window may be something that you've taken for granted your whole life, and it's actually contributing to you continuously. Thank you so much for for going for this ride all around the planet to all these different places. What else is possible? And you mentioned a podcast. How do they find that if they want to listen to your podcast?
Choice, Change and Action podcast. You can go to my website, SimoneMilasas.com, and you can find everything on there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Simone.
Thank you, Katarina. Mwah.